Hey everybody, welcome to the Hogsty, coming at you with the latest and greatest out of the land of the burgundy and gold. We got a special guest with us today and plenty of updates as the Redskins are in the hunt for multiple coordinators. Stick with us, there's plenty to talk about. We'll be right back.
Welcome to the Hogsty with your crew, Adam Taraski, Alex Zeese, Sean Conti, and Steve Thomas. And now, here's your host, Sean Conti.
Hey everybody, once again, Sean here. My crew's on deck. What's up, Mr. Alex Zeese?
Oh, I'm in a good mood today. I got some new Redskins themed socks to wear for training camp, which I know is still 5-6 months away, but I got them. That's the important thing.
You're pimping early, man. You're pimping early in the season.
Can never be too prepared.
That's right. That's the voice of Mr. Adam Tarashki, by the way. What's up, Adam? How you doing?
What's going on, Sean?
I'm chilling, man. I'm a little sick. You may hear that in my voice, so I'm trying to power through this today. I got my chicken noodle soup. I got plenty of awesome stories out of Redskins land to keep me warm and cozy as we chug through the weekend here. What do you think, Steve?
Oh, it's an exciting start to the off season. You know, we're replacing the entire coaching staff. You know, so the drama never ends. It's 66 degrees here where I am, by the way. And for all you guys who I know out there who are under severe weather right now, just know that I'm wearing shorts today. Thank you very much.
Yeah, fuck off is what we all say collectively to you. I am sick because the weather here in the Midwest is going from 12 to 60 to 4 to 50 and back up and up and up and over and over and again. It's wreaking havoc on my system.
The Midwest? I consider that the mountain.
It's just west of the technical Midwest. Yeah, I think they call it the Rocky Mountains is kind of what they call it. Either way, it's wreaking havoc on my biochem here. So we'll get out of the way. We have an awesome interview coming up. I will let the suspense sink in. So we'll intro our guest here. We'll just lead right into this segment. This was an interview that Alex, Steve, and I did the other day. So without further ado, we'll head right into that. We'll see you after. Hey there, everybody. Sean, Alex, Steve here with you on the Hogsty podcast. Glad to be back. Now, one of the best things about modern times is that average guys can follow broadcasters, writers, and players on social media. We can watch guys debate everything from soda fountains to the top DC athletes. But in all that, there's one man in Washington whose cutting-edge commentary pierces the digital clutter, cuts through all that noise. He's tapped into the hearts and minds of fans around the nation's capital, and he's a god tweeting among mere mortals. So Dan Steinberg, founder and head writer of the Washington Post's Sports Bog, welcome to the Hogsty, my man.
I'm happy to be here. Can people see me blushing on an audio-only podcast or not?
We don't do video. We're all too ugly.
We don't show people, on video.
Too bad.
Yeah. Otherwise, God, no one wants to see our ugly mugs. But we are super, super excited to have you on the show, man. So much going on, obviously, in the land of the Redskins. And that kind of brings us to our first point here, man. So with all these coordinators leaving, obviously, we've got our offensive coordinator out, our defensive coordinator out. Is this a return to chaos for the Redskins, and how great is this time for you on the Sports Bog?
Well, maybe on the first one, and I don't think it's actually great for me. I think that when they're okay, I think that when the sorry, my baby wants to talk.
That's our other guest.
Yeah. We've done two guests before.
I think that when the team is really good, I think that that's good for me. And I think when the team is maybe catastrophically bad, that's good for me. But I don't know that this is going to put them in that territory. And I guess it's interesting. I think last offseason was pretty boring, really. And we talked about how it was boring, and they kept almost everything the same. Mm-hmm. And so I guess this will make it interesting, at least. And there'll be new personalities and new schemes and new things to talk about. But I don't know that it's great. It's a kind of an X's and O's type change. I guess, if you get a personality like Wade Phillips, who's going to tweet a lot, I think that would actually be good. He's certainly a better Twitter account than the non-existent Joe Barry one. So I think that might be, I guess.
Maybe you ought to pray for Rex Ryan to be the DC.
Oh, that would be glorious. Yes, for sure.
And you have your Buffalo ties, so you'd have an in with him there.
Joe and Sean were both obviously super friendly guys, but I think pretty boring as personalities. So I guess that wasn't helpful.
Yeah, on that, how long have you been doing the Bog? It's been well over a decade now, right? So
10.5 years. Like that.
You've been, you were there for the Vinny days. How different is it for a guy like you, when you saw what was going on with the Vinny era and then the RG3 Shanahan era, versus now when suddenly it seems like there's actual grown-ups, steady leadership, that kind of thing. Is it? I mean, are you just kind of having to search more for stories at this point?
Yeah, I think so a little bit. I mean, I think that part of what I do is kind of try to feed off all the other stuff that goes on around the team, and there's just definitely less stuff around the team. There's definitely less national attention. You were where I was in the Shanahan year, where every Sunday morning it was like we were all glued to the TV to see what ridiculous thing was going to break. The Vinny thing was, I think the Vinny thing was different because they were more like nationally irrelevant then, but locally it was just such a circus that there was just stuff everywhere on the fringes of the team that I could like pick off. This year, like I think this year was a pretty dull year all in all. The team was entertaining, but you sort of never knew whether they were going to win or lose. It was kind of a coin flip every single week. I don't know that anything about them was. I don't know. I mean, I thought the style of play that they had was entertaining in the sense that they put up a lot of yards and they were going up and down the field, but it just wasn't like dramatic, I guess.
Yeah.
So
I would agree with that.
Would you rather be in this kind of situation then, or do you kind of, and I mean strictly from your
professional standpoint
point of view?
I've said always that professionally the worst thing that they can do is be 8-8, and they were pretty close to that this year. So I guess
that's fair.
But it didn't feel like. I mean, it still doesn't feel to me like they were an 8-8 team. You know what I mean? They were. It's because they were 6-3-1 or whatever, and they felt like they were on the verge of clinching a playoff berth for so long. So I think that this was fine for Trevor. Well, I mean, I would just like to see what a full season of being really good would be like for our traffic, because I have never had that. I've never had anything close to that. We talked about this.
Maybe
all of their playoff seasons. It's a late season run where people kind of get energized only in like November and December. Like I have never seen, and since I've lived through this team, be good from start to finish.
Well, there were some good stories this year, though. So, what were your favorite Redskins Sports Bog stories this year?
We don't mean from a rating, but like the ones that turn you on, right?
Yeah.
I mean, probably the most fun thing I did was when I talked to guys about Kirk Cousins' actually personality after the Packers game when they had him mic'd up and he was doing the everybody touch somebody thing and high five party and all that goofy stuff. And it was just like, man, like do they laugh at this guy when he comes to the sideline saying high five party or when he's trying to get everyone to touch each other? And so I was asking players that, and it's like the answer basically is yes. Like we do laugh at him. And I mean, it was said in a really kind of a friendly way and
endearing way.
An endearing way. And Cousins talked about how he embraces that side of himself and how he's never really been like the cool guy. So he's gonna have the
nobody who wears that Christmas. No one who wears that Christmas blazer is the cool guy. Ever.
Yeah, totally. And like his like cleats aren't exactly the cool guy cleats, and there's something kind of it's like earnest, but also sort of like corny and cheesy about him. So I enjoyed doing that one.
Yeah. He's a big nerd. I mean, we love him, but he's a big nerd. I mean, there's no doubt about it. Yeah. Do you think that Cousins? Yeah, that's probably true. Do you think Cousins, when he touched Scott McGowan's head after that game and talked to him, do you think that was
the infamous hair
out? Do you think that was a serious, hey, pay me now, or what do you think that was?
Not like 100% serious, certainly, but I think like not totally unserious either. And the reason I decided that was the day after that, I think, or maybe 2 days later, when he was on 106.7 The Fan with Grant and Danny, and they asked him about their relationship, and he talked about it in great depth and was saying how just a few weeks before that he had requested a meeting with Scott to sort of see where things stood with him in the organization and to see where he was at. And I hadn't known about that, and it seems like the kind of thing that you do if you're not totally sure of where you stand in the organization. And then, to me, if a couple weeks after that you have a career game on national television and then you see your GM who you just had this meeting with and say, how you like me now? To me, there's like kind of a little bit of a connection there. It's not just totally for show. You know what I mean? Like he's on a prove it year, and he's been on a prove it year 2 years in a row now. And I think when you're on a prove it year, you're trying to prove it to your boss. And it seemed to me like there was some meaning to that. And I think his last couple press conferences of the year, his last press conference and his last radio appearance kind of would back that up.
Yeah, he was a little more serious in that last radio, especially. I remember listening to that. So I not just about the Redskins here. I have a question because the thing I've loved about your the Bog is you cover everything when it comes to and anything that doesn't happen on the field, you cover. It seems like. What are the stories that really get you excited? Not just with the Redskins, but in general. Like, because for me, I love your food stories, and I'm saying that mainly because I think the only time I've ever had my name in the Sports Bog is you interviewed me for a story about a T-shirt cannon shooting hot dogs 8 years ago.
Claim to fame.
That's it. That's the only time you'll ever see my.
It's not
name.
the Hogsty.
It's been downhill from there.
Pre us. So like, what do you really like when you hear? Oh, this is going to happen. What gets you excited?
I mean, that's probably changed over the years. Like I don't go to as many live events as I used to, so I don't see as many things in person anymore. You know, partly because of family reasons and partly because of Washington Post reasons.
Sure.
I would say that I like telling people things that they don't know, and I like things that are like unusual. Like another Cousins one that I did last year, about how him and the offensive lineman and some of the other offensive players share this love of Lord of the Rings, and that like really serious love of it, and where they're like quoting it on the sidelines and talking about all these like fantasy movies in the locker room. It's something you wouldn't necessarily expect, and it's something that, I mean, there's other reporters who would do that, but not a ton of other reporters who would
not in this
do that. So I feel like
I think you have like, that market cornered in this area. People are
no doubt about that.
So it's like fresh turf for me. It's like virgin land, and so I like doing stuff that I think fans would be interested in, and also that other people aren't doing. Like last year with the Caps, I did a big one with all the different handshakes that they like, unique handshakes that I think Nate Schmidt has for all of his teammates and stuff like that. I mean, some of it is goofy, but I think sometimes you can learn a little bit about how guys relate to each other through some of things like that. You know,
I think you can make a career out of hockey traditions alone.
Probably, yeah. I used to love it with the Wizards, especially because I think maybe NBA players are the weirdest ones out there. It's just been so hard with the Wizards lately because there's like so much anger in the fan base, and I think the players don't necessarily want to unleash their personalities because it's hard to do that when you're perennially struggling to be 500.
Right.
So that's been hard. But like back in the day with Gilbert, before he totally lost his mind, there was nothing more fun than that. Because
I don't know if he ever had his mind.
Yeah, maybe not. But if you want to bring like fans inside the locker room to see cool things that they don't get to see, I mean, this was sort of before social media really took off too. But he would just entertain constantly, so that was great.
Yeah. On following that point, do you have like a favorite DC personality? Some guy that comes up and you're like, this guy's always a gold mine for stories. Is there anyone across all the teams that stands out?
Like current, active?
Yeah, sure.
Because we know you'd have to say Smoot if we went backwards, right? It'd have to be Fred Smoot. But of the guys now, who is it that's just
I don't, for whatever reason, I don't have a good relationship with Bryce Harper. Like, I think he might be the most interesting guy going in DC sports.
Okay.
And there are people that he does have a good relationship with, like my colleague Barry's for a little bit. But like I still am blocked by him on Twitter, which I don't know why. And he just
what
he's
did
not
you
that,
do, Dan?
You've done it now, dude. Yeah.
No, like I don't know. I mean, I like Josh Norman. I think Josh Norman is really interesting, like way more than I would have expected. I don't know that I have a
Seems like he has an awesome personality.
Yeah, I think he does. I think that I could get to have a good relationship with him. He's really weird too. And he's got some like the weird, like the soccer thing that he's super but the whole like Batman thing, and it's like a little bit of RG3 to him, but in a more productive way, I guess. I am fascinated by him. Look at a weird thing about him, and I think the Redskins.com did a really interesting interview with him. He's got like a really distinctive style of talking, and I think that it sometimes sounds a lot more interesting when you hear it than when you read it. So I wish that people could talk to him or stand with him and listen to him talk. He's interesting. I was pleasantly surprised by him as a character this year. When he came in with like the magazine covers and some of the stuff that we knew about him from Carolina, I didn't necessarily have high hopes, but I liked him.
You're not the first person that's told us that. I mean, Master was talking about how great a quote he was and how he starts talking about iguanas when you ask him football questions, and he's just great like that.
Yeah, and he, for like a pretty big name player, he also is there to talk, and he's there to talk for a long time, and he enjoys, like someone like Deshaun Jackson, you can see it's just not.
Yeah, he seems
something
quiet.
that he enjoys. Yeah, sure. But Josh loves it. He loves an audience. So I think that, and I think that you've heard people say that he was already a leader of that defense during some of the weird stuff that was maybe happening at the end of the year, and so I would expect that's going to only increase.
Yeah, you wrote a column recently. What was it today? I think the top 3 athletes in DC. Sammy Baugh.
No, it wasn't a column. You were debating it on Twitter, I think.
Oh, was that what it was?
Yeah.
I ended up writing something. Well, yeah, I don't know what it was. It was a blog item, whatever you want to call it.
So who are they? Sammy Baugh and who? It has to be Sammy Baugh.
I said Sammy Baugh, Walter Johnson, and Alex Ovechkin, and I think that because I think those were the only 3. I mean, obviously, I didn't live here in the 70s, and I certainly didn't live here in the 30s, but I think those were the only 3 that you would say, for a long period of time, they were the best in their sport. I mean, I guess maybe for Wes Unseld, he was MVP one year, so I guess, that he won a title here too. I guess maybe him. People talk about like Riggo and Darryl Green, and it's hard with football because, is a defensive back ever the best player in their sport? I don't know. Maybe.
I think football's the hardest sport to judge. Baseball's easy; it's got numbers, and the numbers actually represent everything. Football numbers don't they change and evolve with history. But I think
more misleading, I would say.
Right. It's always easy to say the guy who kind of invented the forward pass as a thing can go down in that book.
It was a 6-time All-Pro or something like that, and also was like a terrific punter and a defensive back and all those things.
I think that's a safe one. But I was amazed that you were tweeting online that somebody didn't know who Sammy Baugh or Johnson were.
That's what he said. I wrote back to that guy and said, are you joking? I'm not sure if you're joking or not. But his point was that certainly Ovechkin is more relevant now. But I told him 60 years, if you're serious, 60 years from now, there are going to be people who don't know who Alex Ovechkin was. You have to just kind of recognize this is like a dominant figure in his sport for a decade, just like those other 2 guys were, and that matters.
Well, I think we actually do. We have a couple more questions? We got to review. Well,
we don't want to take much more of his time, of Dan's time.
Whatever.
We could just talk to him all.
I'm good. Whatever you guys want to do.
Well, how about this? We got to ask you, man. This is our shameless attempt every time we have someone of your caliber here on the show, because you're a big get for us. We really look up to you, man. You're an awesome dude.
Right. You're our Tony Kornheiser, and you understand what that means.
Yeah. Only not annoying.
Yeah. How do we get famous, man? How do we do what you do so well?
How do we get in the sports bog? See, that's what we want. How do we get the Hogstein in the sports bog?
Yeah. Do we have to start a fight with somebody?
How long has the podcast existed?
2 years.
Almost 2 years. God, it's been that long, guys. Jesus. Yes. Having Vietnam flashbacks.
I think it is. Part of it is it's harder. I think it's harder now to stand out, certainly than it was when I started, because
there's so many podcasts.
There's so many everythings now, and it's just even with Twitter accounts, I feel like Twitter accounts that existed for 7 years have an advantage over ones that start now. And I still follow the same group of kind of sports bloggers that I did 10 years ago, because they're guys who got in right at the very beginning, and so they have some kind of currency, not necessarily based on quality, but just based on longevity, which is, it's weird, but so many of us just came in at the right time where we were the right age and the medium was just taking off. So it's hard. I think it's hard. I guess I still tell people I think quality matters in the end. So if you have the best Redskins podcast, I think that will probably work at some point. But I don't know.
There you go.
Podcasts. I probably should, but I podcast local sports radio shows, which I don't know. Right. It's just like a habit. It's just what I do. But they're better than you guys, but I just do that.
Well, no, they are better than us. I listen to all those local guys too.
Yeah.
And I can say definitively they're all better than us because,
He's dogging us, man.
Yeah. I do think that getting something that is unique can help, though. Like whether it's, guests. I don't know that I'm not thinking of myself necessarily, but, interesting guests or like some kind of like breaking news or, that can help get a foothold in some way.
Hey, we have our only claim to fame is we did the very last Silas Red interview before he got suspended. So we're really proud of him.
He came on our show and then got suspended a day later.
Like 3 days later, yeah.
See, I don't know. Even if he hadn't gotten suspended, that's a good guess. It's a good get that you got. But if you told me, hey, we've got an interview with Silas Red, I probably wouldn't listen to it. No offense to Silas.
I don't know how everybody else, judging from the numbers.
Yeah, we were afraid.
Yeah.
If you can get Kirk, like maybe you get Kirk, that might help. Something like that.
Oh, that's the big one. That's
I don't
the
think
promise
Tony Riley likes us well enough to give us Kirk just yet.
No.
How about this? Someone tweeted me today asking what Brett Conway is up to, and I don't know why, but someone was asking what Brett Conway is up to. So if you get Brett Conway, then I can listen to it and tell this person what he's up to.
What's Brett
Well,
Conway?
there you go.
About 100.
We got our work cut out for us.
Yeah, I didn't Google him or anything, but
All right, nice. Well, like we said, man, with all this clutter, all this stuff going on, so many competing podcasts, so many competing mediums, you do a great job. We look forward to your stuff, and definitely a pleasure having you on the show, man. So thank you again.
thanks, my pleasure, guys.
Nice. That was awesome. Dan Steinberg, a super cool dude, and that was an awesome interview to have. Plenty of cool stuff that he said. So hopefully you enjoyed that. Well, we, maybe we should just keep chugging here. There's plenty to talk about. Particularly one of the things we talked a little bit with Dan was the departure of the intrepid Joe Barry from the defensive coordinator position here in Washington. He got a new job. Are we going to get someone in this job for us, guys?
We're going to get somebody.
Yeah.
I hope so.
I'm starting
the job
to doubt
will
it.
be filled. There will be a man whose title is defensive coordinator.
You don't
That
think
much
we're
I can
basically
promise.
just going to
Doubt
go
it, man.
backyard football all next year and say, all right, you guys know what to do. Just get out there.
I don't think they do know what to do.
Maybe an upgrade.
I don't think they do know what to do. That's the problem. No, I mean,
Yeah,
here's
that's
the
right.
scenario. We intentionally, for those of you out there, delayed recording this episode for a couple days after we did Steinberg for the express purpose of hoping and praying that this situation would be resolved and we would have a defensive coordinator to talk about. Because what we know is going to happen from long history of doing this show is that 5 minutes after we release this episode, the defensive coordinator is going to be announced, and it's going to make everything we talk to totally irrelevant.
Right.
So we know that's going to happen.
Right.
Right.
But
By the
so
time
here's
people
the-
listen to this on Monday, we might have a coordinator.
So what we're going to try to do is
That's
give
right.
you as much information about the guys we know of now. So at least when the guy is picked, you'll at least have somebody to go. So the current status, when we started this adventure, the candidates were Wade Phillips, Gus Bradley, Greg Minuski, and Mike Pettin.
Right.
Wade Phillips has since been hired.
He's gone.
Out in Los Angeles, and we will talk about Sean McVay later. So the candidates left are Gus Bradley, Greg Minuski, Mike Pettin, and the rumor is, as of this morning, Saturday, that Bradley might go to San Diego to be with Anthony Lynn, who got hired as a head coach.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So
I vomited when you said
if
that.
that's the case, we're down to Minuski and Pettin as the candidates we know about, although Bradley technically is still in the running. So
Right.
let's start with you, Adam. What do you think? Let's start with Minuski, because Minuski is our current linebackers coach.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you think about Minuski's possibilities in DC?
I don't really see Minuski as a possibility. I think if they were going to promote him, they would have done it already. I don't see the need in waiting. Unless he's like their third or fourth choice, then I could see it. But if he was their plan going into the offseason, I think he would have already been a coordinator. But yeah, I think it's definitely going to be Pettin, or maybe they're holding out for a playoff team. I think that's why they've been waiting.
But he's shown
Kinda
so
hold
much
out for-
promise with his coaching of our linebackers.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, he was the outside linebackers coach now, and that is the one area of our.
That's the one area
That's the
we
one
we
area
were
where
doing
we did
okay.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Fair point.
he has a
Fair
long
point.
history, though. You guys
He does,
understand. I mean,
and I was actually going to bring some of that up
And
myself.
players vouch for him too.
Yeah.
yeah, I have all this.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he's
if
been
you
around.
have the numbers, I don't remember
I have
the
all
exact
the
numbers.
I have all the numbers for
Yeah.
everybody because I'm me, so
course.
this is what I do. 2007, 2010, he was the San Francisco 49ers defensive coordinator under Mike Singletary and Mr. Moon. The players, Mike Singletary, Mike Nolan, and then Jim Tomsula.
Right.
I'm not going to read all of these in order, but I've got points and total yardage rankings for all these guys. Safe to say that all of those San Francisco defenses were fair to Midland, with the exception of the 2009 defense, which was ranked 4th in points, 281 points surrendered. That's good. But these from a yardage perspective, all his defenses were mainly ranked in the teens. The 2017 was a little bit worse. He was the defensive coordinator in San Diego under North Turner for 1 year.
Right.
Again, another fair to Midland defense, 377 points surrendered, 16th in yardage. Excuse me.
Norv.
He did 4 years in Indianapolis under Chuck Pagano. Those defenses were a little bit better, maybe a couple of those years, but again, sort of fair to Midland. 2013 team was ranked 9th in points. The 2014 team was ranked 11th in yardage, but all the rest of those defenses were in the 20s for both points and yardage. So there's not a great history of if you're looking for just a track record of success. Greg Minuski doesn't have it. Now
he doesn't stand out above the other guys.
Success, no, but he also doesn't really have a track record of outright failure like our last two defensive coordinators have had.
Right.
Right.
Excellent point.
And here's my thing: that
explicit
a lot of
failure.
people were really obsessed about Perry Fuel taking over the job mid-season. I always thought that was kind of a weird decision because Fuel kind of had a bad track record as a defensive coordinator as well.
Well, yeah, and they let him go too.
Yeah, and we let him go too. Minuski's always been that guy who I said, if you're looking for someone in-house, it makes a lot of sense. He coaches outside linebackers for us, and like I said earlier, that's kind of where we've had the most success. Our only guy to really improve last year was Trent Murphy, and I think you can probably attribute some of that to his coaching. I don't know, but usually give the coach some credit.
Can I splash some pessimism on this?
Yeah.
Does anybody mind? Okay. I personally think
just a pinch.
Yeah, I personally think the Redskins want to flush the toilet totally on defense, and the reason Minuski wasn't let go is that Minuski was just hired in 2016, so he probably has another year to go in his contract.
Right.
And the other guys they let go were guys whose contracts were expiring, and I think this is just a case of we can suffer through one more year of a linebackers coach, to save Dan Snyder a little money. I think there's like 0.0% chance Minuski gets the job unless we're just desperate. Now, what I'd like to ask Adam, though, because we're talking numbers and this and that, but, you can't just evaluate a coach strictly by the numbers, because there's so many other things that go into it. The players, and some of those old San Francisco teams stunk, for example. Our players stink. So, Adam, what do you know about Minuski, his techniques, his style? What do we look for in a good coach from a player's perspective?
Well, from a player's perspective, I've heard a lot of good things about Minuski. I've seen a couple guys who've played for him tweet about how he would be a great fit.
Gillette did.
Former players who don't play anymore. Yeah, exactly. He runs a similar kind of style to Joe Barry, kind of an attacking one gap, 4 down in nickel. But yeah, I think schematically he would be fine, and he seems to be a player's coach, so I think the players could buy into that. But I think there's better options out there, in my opinion.
That's fair.
Yeah. Anybody else, want to knock my socks off with some ringing,
Minuski information
endorsement of Manduski? Yeah. Because otherwise, I just don't know if there's that much there with Manduski.
The only thing I'll say is he has a reputation as being a good teacher. He apparently stresses technique well. We got to give him.
That's good.
Trent Murphy's made a leap under his tutelage this year. So you got to give him props for that. Preston Smith didn't, but I tend to think that was more scheme after thinking about it. If Preston Smith is dropping back in coverage, there's a problem. So that's really maybe more of a scheme thing.
Kerrigan did okay.
Kerrigan, had a career. He was a little inconsistent this season, but he had a career year in terms of sacks. So Minuski was maybe the one coach whose unit did not look like just a total disaster this year. So I don't know if that's a ringing endorsement.
It's an endorsement, maybe not ringing, but it's an endorsement.
His history is that he's typically a 3-4 guy who mixes 4-3 fronts in. So if you want to know what style to expect, that's probably what we're going to see with him.
That's the style we've been getting, bro, isn't it? That's what we do
we've been
forever.
Getting the opposite of that, where it's a 3-4, where we're really running
3-4 with
4-3.
We're really running a 4-2-5 half the time.
Right.
Also, but
yeah.
So that's Manduski.
I don't know. I think those are all great points about Manduski. I'm not sold on him, especially with the other names that have been floating around, obviously.
I'm sold on him as
I don't know, Steve, if you have
I've got all.
I would keep him in his position. I think he's.
Oh, I'm not advocating to hire Minuski. Did I give anybody that impression?
Yeah.
No, I'm just giving you some numbers. Yeah, that's fair. I just think they didn't fire him because Dan Snyder wants to save 1 year of salary.
Sure.
That's it.
Yeah. Well, fair enough. Well, let's talk a little Gus Bradley, maybe. You guys down with that?
All right.
Yeah. Gus Bradley.
Okay, so
go ahead.
You want to hit us with his background there, Steve, before we get into it? I got some things on him.
Yeah, Gus Bradley, Minuski was a Redskins player. He had 11-year, playing career. Gus Bradley is not an NFL player. He played his college ball at North Dakota State. He has a history primarily of being a 4-3 defensive front coach. He has mixed in some 3-4 scheme stuff. He's not a cover 2 guy. He's really more of a single high safety, which would be both man schemes and cover 3 schemes. His background, Tampa Bay Buccaneers linebackers coach, Seattle defensive coordinator under Pete Carroll for 4 years, 2009 to 2012, and then obviously he was.
We all know what that defense was like.
We're going to talk about that because I actually have some interesting numbers there. And then he was the Jacksonville Jaguars head coach for 2013 to 2016, which was basically a disaster for 4 years. So let's talk Seattle. Now, Seattle won the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
The 2012 team was the best defense in the league. Number 1 in points, number 4 in yardage.
One of the top 10 defenses all time, probably. I mean, most people.
Yeah, I don't know how you'd rank that, but I mean, certainly it'd be in the discussion for that. Yeah, I agree.
Right.
In the past centric era that we're in now, definitely. Yeah, it's got to be up there with among the best.
But the 2009 and 2010 defenses weren't. Neither one of them were very good. By the way, these are all Pete Carroll teams.
Right.
2009, 390 points surrendered. That's 25th. About 5,700 yards surrendered. That's 24th. The 2010 teams, 407 points surrendered. That's ranked 25th. And then they were 28th in total yardage that year. It wasn't until 2011 that they started drafting a bunch of elite talent that this defense improved dramatically. That's when, a lot of these guys that are there today came onto the team. So it was really, I think, the cynic. If you're going to be a cynic about Gus Bradley, the cynic would tell you that all of a sudden the talent made the difference, maybe more so than Bradley. Jacksonville, all their defenses stunk. The only notable difference to that was this year's team was 6th in yardage surrendered, but other than that, all these defenses were terrible. So that is Gus Bradley's background.
Now, we got to ask Adam about some of the more technical stuff about that defense. But I would say my understanding of their relationship, Pete Carroll and and Bradley, were Carroll kind of had some loose ideas about what he wanted out of defense, and Bradley really designed and implemented that whole thing by himself. Now, I agree that the first couple years maybe weren't as strong as obviously that Super Bowl year. But it takes a couple years to build up a defense. It takes a couple years to build up a scheme, and then once they got it, it's like Bradley left to go join the Jags as a head coach. Right. So I hear what you're saying, but part of me thinks, he really did build something that was meaningful there, and then he went out to cut his teeth on as a head coach, and it didn't work out. But I think I think we would have probably seen a continued of that total dominance of the Seattle defense if he'd stuck around. What do you think, Adam? I don't know if you have any thoughts on that.
Yeah, I think he may be the kind of guy that's a tremendous coordinator and just doesn't quite get it as a head coach.
Right.
Because everything I've read is that he's just an outstanding teacher. He gets it. He's able to break it down for the players so they can understand it. If he has to do it differently for every player, that's what he'll do. And you can't really do that as a head coach. You can't kind of micromanage every single player. But when you cut that roster in half, it's a little bit easier to do that. Schematically, I think he's probably our best fit. I'm really intrigued by him. I've been watching some film lately. He runs, like you said, he runs a 4 down. So there's 4 guys with their hand in the dirt, but it's technically a 4-3 under, but it's really a 3-4 because the Leo, which is the defensive end on the weak side, is technically an outside linebacker, and so is the strong side backer. So you've got a 5 technique, a 1 technique, and a 3 technique. So it's basically a 3-4 with the outside linebackers.
Did you say a 4-3 under, Adam? What do you mean by a 4-3 under as opposed to just a straight 4-3?
Well, if you're just going a 4-3 stack, it's just going to be, a 5 technique, a 3 technique, a 1 technique, and a 7 technique outside the tight end, or inside the tight end, excuse me. And then if you do under, you will you'll move the left side linebacker out onto the line of scrimmage, and that just kind of slides everything down one gap.
Okay.
And so his whole mentality is kind of basic. The 5 technique and the 1 technique kind of 2 gap, the 3 technique, and the Leo will shoot up the field. And it's really kind of a simple scheme, and he just lets them go out there and play with a lot of energy.
Is it safe to say, like for a simpleton like me, that what you're talking about is getting more guys with hands on the dirt up front on the line, basically? Is that kind of what?
Yeah, basically, because it's a
3-4,
but the outside linebacker has his hand in the dirt. Technically, the Leo.
Think about what LeVar Arrington did early in his career.
LeVar Arrington did whatever he wanted to do. In his career.
Well, but I mean, it's these linebackers, these guys who are linebackers, but they're kind of playing defensive end the whole time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, what is it with Bradley, guys? Like, is it just that obviously the Chargers have better defensive talent, and he doesn't want to take the risk he just took to being the head coach of Jacksonville?
Yes.
Is that what it is? So he just, he's tired of the uncertainty. Why do a total top-to-bottom rebuild if you can go into a nice cushy spot with some talent?
Well,
is that what it is?
Our friend Master and Liz Clark, who's not our friend, put an article out. Yet. That's, Liz, if you're out there,
not our enemy
come on the
either.
show.
We have
well,
enemies.
Liz, if you're out there, come talk to us. We'll
Yet.
have to talk to you. But point is, they had an article out last night on the Insider on the Washington Post, talking about, the title of the article is Redskins Hunt for Defensive Coordinator has them doing a bit of a scramble drill.
Right.
And the point here, one of the points they make here is that, these guys, it's a difficult position we have because it's not really that good of a job. We don't have good talent, and the defense was terrible last year.
Right.
And so guys like Wade Phillips and Gus Bradley are seeing other jobs with better talent. San Diego has better talent. No matter what you guys out there think, not you guys on the show, but you listeners, San Diego has better talent.
Yeah.
Okay, on defense.
On defense, we're making that clear.
Yeah.
On defense.
The Rams, Aaron Donald, MVP candidate or defensive MVP candidate. We don't have anybody like that, and so they are seeing better job opportunities than the Redskins. Plus, the other point sorry, Sean, but the last point to be made in the article, which is a good point, is that Jay Gruden is entering the 4th year of his 5-year contract. So this is the critical year, and as we know, Dan Snyder has history of getting rid of coaches at the 4-year point. So they're seeing crummy personnel with a coach that may be gone if it goes south. So that's why we're having trouble.
Yeah, that's something that a lot of people have been bringing up more and more is the whole 4-year of 5 contract issue. That's becoming a bigger deal out there.
Now, here's the one point I want to make about San Diego, too. Defensively, sure, there's a lot more talent there. They've got some great names on that defense. Not so much on offense. They were 5-11 this year. I think the window's closing, ever so more each year on their quarterback. I think this team's actually further away from winning a championship or a Super Bowl than Washington is. Frankly, I think Washington with a totally dominant offense, if we can get some fucking just base competency on defense, I think we're a lot closer than San Diego is. And now that's not even bringing up the fact that this is a crazy move the Chargers just pulled to move to L.A. This is a city that has made it clear they don't want them to go play in a soccer stadium that seats a fraction of the amount that a football stadium seats.
I like to think
this is a franchise in
minor league football team in the NFL with that stadium.
Exactly. I mean, that's what I'm thinking. I mean, this is a team that I don't know. Other than the talent on defense, I think that's the only endorsement you can give to San Diego right now in terms of a job there. I think that's a franchise that's in a mess.
Incidentally, the 30,000 person stadium
27,000 seat, not even 30.
It's well below NFL requirements. So they had to make an exception to the NFL franchise rules to the NFL Constitution for that. But look,
is crazy.
We don't want to get into that too much here in the show. But the point of the San Diego, Dean Spanos couldn't care less about what San Diego thinks, what LA thinks. All he cares about is that there's going to be a ton of luxury box to be sold in LA. That's it.
Yeah, but if I'm a coach, I don't want to go play for a city that doesn't want me.
I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm getting off track.
No,
that's the San Diego thing is.
No, this is irrelevant. I mean, this is all about why coaches might take these jobs. I mean, this is all tied up in the conversation.
He couldn't care less what LA thinks about him.
Yeah,
he knows those boxes are going to be sold.
I mean, there's also
maybe we'll see. I guess
if he's going to play in that stadium for 2-3 years until they build a new stadium, it's not out of the realm of possibility that they just move again in 2 years. Then, in my mind, I mean,
no.
You don't think so? You don't think they could?
No,
they could realize
absolutely
this isn't working.
They're not going to do this. No, this is not how business works. There's going to be a lease in place that is not going to be breakable. The only reason he's doing this, and he's going to suffer through, 1 or maybe 2 years of really poor income from ticket sales, is that there's going to be a signed massive lease in place with Stan Kroenke. Stan Kroenke owns the stadium.
Right.
That's being built with the Rams. Stan Kroenke's the owner of the Rams. He's maybe the richest owner in the NFL. There's going to be a massive lease in place before this is done. That you don't move multi-billion-dollar corporations without the contracts in place. You don't.
I don't know.
That.
I
do.
Sometimes I look at some of these teams and how they're operating, and I wonder if they really even think some of this stuff through.
Well, the other thing is, you guys have to remember that there's a massive franchise relocation fee that these teams owe the NFL. I mean, it's like $750 million is typically what I think the fee is now. Yes.
Wow.
And well, the reason is to discourage movement, And so he's not going to...
Well, it makes you think he should have just built his damn new stadium himself.
They've been negotiating it with
in San Diego
forever, and it's
the taxpayers that held up there.
How are the Raiders moving? Because I don't think the Oakland Raiders have that much money to give to the NFL.
They don't, but
that's not a done deal yet.
Las Vegas is hooking them up.
Oh, okay.
That's why.
Got it.
So, but anyway, we're getting off track.
Vegas.
Defensive coordinator. Does anybody else have anything relevant to say about Gus Bradley?
No, other than I think he'd probably be one of the better choices. I think we've covered
I
it all
honestly
pretty
think
much.
by the time this airs, there's a good chance he'll be in San Diego or L.A.
Yeah.
The reason why he's such a good candidate, if anybody doesn't realize this, is because of the Seattle connection. He was there when Scott McGloin was in Seattle, and that's why he's the leading candidate. Period. So there you go.
Yep. Sure.
But like you said, he's probably going to be the San Diego defensive coordinator when this
He
airs.
really likes Lynn. He and those guys go back apparently.
Yeah.
Yeah, apparently so.
I think he was probably going to follow him to Buffalo if he stayed there,
that's
too.
what everyone was saying.
God help you. Why would anybody follow anybody to Buffalo?
I like hot wings.
Well, let's talk about.
That's why I would go to Buffalo just for hot wings.
You make a valid point. Well, let's talk about these other guys that are in the running for the Skins defensive coordinator position right now, because I want to talk a little bit about Wade Phillips and what's going on with the Rams, but we can save that. Let's talk about the other Redskins candidates first.
Mike Pettin.
So who's next on deck?
Mike
Steve?
Pettin.
Mike
Pettin.
Pettin.
Yeah.
Is it Pettin or Patine?
I've always said Pettin, but if it's Patine, somebody out there correct me.
I've always said Pettin.
If I'm pronouncing it wrong, somebody's going to tweet us and say we said it wrong.
Yeah. Well, we're going to say
get an
Pettin
angry letter.
all show, so we'll all say it wrong.
There you go.
There you go.
He
Go
is
down.
not an NFL. He does not have NFL playing experience. He played his college ball at Virginia. He was Rex Ryan's defensive coordinator for for the Jets from 2009 to 2012. Of all these guys, this is the guy that has a track record of success. Much better than the others. The 2009 Jets team. I'm telling you, number one in points
As a defensive coordinator.
I'll get to that.
Yeah.
Number one defense in 2009 by almost every measure. 236 points scored.
It was a really
about
good
4,000
defense,
yards. Yeah, it was. 2010 team was elite. 6th in points, 3rd in yardage. 2011 team was 5th in yardage, slipped a little bit in points down to 20th. The 2012 team, which had lost some talent by that point in time, still 8th in yardage, 20th in points. He went to Buffalo for 1 year, 10th in yardage, 20th in points. And then he went to the Cleveland Browns. Now, the Cleveland Browns is football Siberia. Yeah, it's nothing good. It's cursed, and nothing good comes out of Cleveland.
Right.
But
Or Jacksonville. Let's be honest.
The 2014 Cleveland Browns were 9th in points surrendered with 337. And the 2015 team was just horrible, in every.
Right.
That was just because God sneezed
team.
that year.
God sneezed. I like that.
Yeah. Only to be succeeded by the almost completely defeated team this year for Cleveland.
Hey, I mean, don't make fun of them too much because we were right down there with them for about 15 years. So
yeah, we never had a 1-win season in 15 years.
He looks to me, from what I could tell of his scheme, he looks like he's more of a 4-3 guy at heart, but he is coached up and used both a 3-4 scheme and a 4-3 scheme.
I mean, he's a Rex Ryan guy, so I would think he's a 3-4 guy more, if anything.
Yeah. He's a hybrid.
Yeah, he's all right. So, Adam, do you have some good stuff or bad stuff to tell us about him?
Yeah, I mean, if you've watched any of Rex Ryan's teams play, that's basically what you're getting is kind of a full throttle attacking 3-4, but he'll mix it up with a bunch of different fronts. And if you're looking for a guy that's going to be aggressive and blitz a lot and be creative with his defensive looks, Pettin's the guy. I think he's probably the best candidate available right now because Bradley's probably gone and Phillips is gone. But Pettin, obviously the track record is there. He's another guy that's known for breaking down the scheme and making it easier to understand. And I saw a quote that was interesting. It said that he wants a defense that looks complicated to the offense, but it's easy for his guys to understand. So I thought that was important. I think he'd be a great addition. I think we need to pull the trigger if that's who we're going for, and we just need to get it done.
I don't think he's a bad option. My big thing is I think people listening to talk radio and stuff like that lately, people are really panicking about the fact that we don't have anybody yet. That's my bigger issue with what's going on right now. Penny could be a very good option. There will be some good options coming out of the teams that lose this weekend or have lost by the time the show's out. There
that's a great point.
3 or 4 really good defenses in the playoffs still, and getting one of their assistants might make it for a good coordinator. There's a guy in Seattle I've had my eye on forever, Rocky Sato, who's their secondaries coach or something like that.
Rocky Balboa or Rocky Sato?
Well, I think it's Rocky Sato.
I'd take
I'll
either
take
one.
Rocky Balboa too. Maybe teach our guys how to tackle.
No, that's right.
I think people need to just stop panicking. Let's find a good guy. That's my big thing.
Yeah.
I totally agree. I mean, good God. I mean, we've gotten some Twitter comments recently about this, some feedback where people are calling our search a total disaster, a joke, and this. Everybody, do you have? I'm sure Alex doesn't have the Aaron Rodgers "relax" quote, soundbite handy, so we can't play it. But if we could, we need to, because it truly, people relax, okay? Relax.
I'm not spending money on a soundboard, Steve, no matter how many times you ask.
Yeah, we'll have a defensive coordinator. Go ahead, Sean.
I agree completely, and I mean, all is not lost because the big names didn't land our way necessarily. Now, I know, I have some concerns about this search as well, and that's kind of tied up in the stuff I want to talk about Wade Phillips. Who else is in the running here? Is Wilkes still in the running?
No,
at this
Wilkes
point?
has been announced as the defensive coordinator at Carolina.
Yeah,
so he's out. So
really, he's confirmed. So are there any?
No, these are
announced
the only
names.
3
Okay, there's no.
we know of. Yeah, Adam, do you have something else? Another name?
Just one name that I've seen pop up the last couple days that I think is really interesting is Mike Vrabel, the linebackers coach from Houston. He would be a tremendous defensive coordinator for us. I think he's kind of if you will, a Sean McVay of the defensive side, kind of a young up-and-coming guy. He was supposed to interview for a head coaching gig, I believe, and he couldn't because of the playoff game. But yeah, he'd definitely be a guy that I would be interested in at least interviewing, bringing in for a possible defensive coordinator position, and who knows,
how long has he
moving
been
forward,
coaching
he
now?
may end up being a head coach. I want to say 3 or 4 years.
He's gotten Bill
at Houston.
Belichick's seal of approval. Belichick likes him.
Yeah,
and,
big time.
I haven't done a lot of study on Vrabel, so I don't have any facts to give. But I've seen nothing but good, nothing but good things about Vrabel.
And you're right. He started coaching in 2011, right after he retired.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Well, I think he would be a great fit for Preston Smith. He's done a great job kind of helping to mold Clowney and turning him into the player that he is after 2 years of mediocrity. Right. But I think he could do a really good job for this defense.
And that kind of speaks to my point, how there are very good guys who we could interview, but they're kind of busy right now. They're still in the playoffs.
Yeah. Well, also, I mean, people need to remember that, I've said this for weeks on end, it seems like. You can bring the best defensive coordinator in the world, and it's not going to be a top 10 defense. We need better. We need better players. Our defensive line is a disaster. It needs to be totally rebuilt. If you look at who's, basically, they almost all of them were free agents. We only have 4 defensive linemen on the roster right now. So I mean, there's a lot of work to do. And it's not just bring in a new coach and expect a miracle.
Yeah, no, it makes total sense. I'll tell you one thing that concerns me about this defensive search, and I know we have to talk about the offensive coordinator, which we can move to now. We have a poll to go over. I would just say this. I'm a little thrown by Wade Phillips and how much he clearly hates us. Chose to go work for, Sean McVay over there in L.A. For the Rams. I'm not quite sure I understand that. That's a team that also just picked up newly available Joe Barry for their linebackers coach. It's just a weird situation. I'm not quite sure how we lost out on that competition, but this is the second time we've pursued him, and nothing's come of it. So that's the kind of concern I have. I share a little bit of people's concerns that we haven't locked anybody in yet, or we don't have any serious leads. But more so, I'm just like, why are we losing out to shitty teams and shitty franchises?
It's not an attractive job. It's not an attractive job. I mean, we went through this. I mean, it's bad personnel, bad results.
But are the Rams But are the Rams really a better? I mean, they have worse results. I think they have worse personnel.
Defensively, they have a lot better personnel.
One of the best defensive tackles of all time already.
Yeah.
Aaron Donald is going to be a Hall of Famer, so I wouldn't pass up on coaching him.
Totally fair, but that's one guy. And again, I think that's another example of a franchise that's even further from real success.
Well, I think Goff
we are,
probably isn't, as far along as they hoped, and may not be as talented as they hoped. But
but that's more speaking to the general manager there, because I think most people said Goff would need like 2 years to really be an NFL quarterback.
Yeah.
You want to do the poll real
Yeah,
fast?
I mean, we'll see.
Yeah.
Because we're kind of transitioning to McVay. Okay, our poll question. We're starting up the poll question this week. We're going to do these every week. Yeah, again, since we're in the off season, so I know a lot of you guys out there like them. This week's question was, what defensive coordinator do you want the Redskins to hire? Now, I'd just like to say that, Phillips is included in here, and we started the poll before he became the Rams coordinator, and I can't change it halfway through. So, the options were Phillips, Bradley, Pettin, and then other. Knowing the results are a little bit skewed because of Phillips, what do you guys think the people out there want? Who do you think the people out there wanted? Bradley? Sean?
I think Bradley.
I would say the people wanted Phillips, but with him out, him and Bradley are probably the 1-2 in some order or another.
Yeah.
The 1-2 punch.
Adam?
Yeah, I've seen kind of split down the middle. I've seen half of them wanted Wade Phillips or bust, and then the other half thought Bradley.
And then
was,
there's like six guys still saying Rex Ryan.
Yeah. Well, you guys are wrong.
There's always one.
Bring back Has.
You guys are wrong. Mike Pettin won. Mike Pettin won the poll.
What?
36% voted for Pettin, 35% voted for Bradley, 26% voted for Phillips. Again, though, I'd like to say that if
I forgot this was the week we did our free crack giveaway to our listeners.
Well, no, you see, I think truthfully, it was going Phillips until he got hired about 12 hours into the poll. So I would assume that Phillips would have probably won it. But once he got hired, people stopped voting for him. So I think in reality, probably, it would probably have been Phillips, Pettin, Bradley. And then the other, by the way, was exactly what, the people voted other. A few people commented that Vrabel was the guy.
Right.
Greg Hutchison, who is at GHut1965, says, I'm just tired of hearing about septuagenarians and retreads. Love the idea of Vrabel or Wilkes. So I think that is Marcus Dolney is another one. I'm really hoping they bring in Vrabel for an interview after the Texans get eliminated. So a lot of people like the idea of young blood.
Because that's a foregone conclusion, let's be honest.
The Patriots the spread was 15.5, and I think they cover.
Wow.
I think they cover too,
It was earlier in the week at least. I don't know what it is at now, but it was at 15.5 before, So that's
all right. Well, interesting stuff. Thanks for everyone's participation there on the poll. That is always fun to see, and we got a great number of responses this time. So keep engaging with us in that way as we move through the offseason here. Let's talk a little offensive coordinator search because everyone knows our bright blue-eyed boy departed for L.A., the big city, the big lights. Sean McVay, obviously the head coach now in L.A. for the Rams. So what are we going to do at this position, and does it matter?
Here's the thing. I mean, I think we all agree, McVay, congratulations to him getting that job. It makes me feel like a real failure at 33 years old that, there's a 30-year-old head coach now.
I still think it's crazy. I wouldn't have hired. No 30-year-old is going to coach my NFL team, but that's just me. Go ahead, Alex,
I think
he's got to be up there with some of the youngest.
I think it
right?
is crazy.
He's the youngest in NFL history.
Well, in modern history. There's some guys back in the 20s and 30s who, were young because it was a different.
No, people only lived to age 30 then,
though. 30 was a middle age back in those days. That's right. And I'm with you. I think it's surprising he got it. But let's really talk about more what the Redskins do now. I think there seems to be two kind of points of view. One, a very popular thing these days is let's keep it in-house. Let's just promote somebody we have, go with the guys we have. I'm kind of leaning more towards I think we need an offensive coordinator. I don't need him to call plays. Gruden can take that back on. I just need somebody to control the clock for Gruden. I need someone there with the stopwatch saying, hey, call timeout now. Hey, This is when you challenge the flag or throw a challenge flag, that kind of stuff that Gruden struggles with.
Also, if Gruden's calling plays, maybe he'll be a little more in the flow of the game and maybe be a little more, aware of the clock situation.
But he's always
if
struggled with
dialed
clock management. But it's not his strong suit.
Yeah. See, I tend to...
Well, he hasn't called plays in 2 years.
I tend to think that we need to promote somebody in-house. Maybe the most important thing to me is we keep the offensive system the same. We don't need to change the system. I don't want to bring in some big-name offensive coordinator and have them
we don't need
totally
North
change
Turner.
things up. Yeah, we don't need North Turner. Now, all this is just assuming Kirk Cousins comes back, and he's not on the roster right now. But I don't think it's a good idea for Gruden to call plays. He was horrible at it 2 years ago. Why go through that? I think that Callahan and Kavanaugh probably need to stay where they are. Callahan didn't do a particularly good job as OC in Dallas, and we need him focusing on the O-line. Kavanaugh's been an outstanding quarterbacks coach. Like to keep him rolling. So I don't know what really to do, but I think whoever it is, my input is keep the system the same and don't let Gruden call plays. That's my 2 cents.
Yeah, I think because of Gruden is an offensive guru, if you will, and he's kind of based his whole coaching style on that offensive scheme, that we'll definitely see someone in-house because it doesn't make sense to bring someone in with their own scheme, having to learn his offense. So I definitely think it's either going to be Callahan or Kavanaugh.
What about Phillips?
I think it
what
should
about
be
Wes
Kavanaugh.
Phillips?
Yeah, that's a name people have mentioned.
He's my dark horse.
He's another young guy, kind of like
horse.
McVay was. He's what?
But
28?
he's not a real offensive coordinator, though. I mean, Gruden is a real offensive coordinator at this team.
Yeah, McVay was special. I think we're not going to see another 26-year-old or however old he was when we hired him at OC. But I agree with Steve. I think Callahan needs to stay at the offensive line. We're nearing the elite status, I would say. I think we're a really good left guard away from being a top 3 offensive line. So I think he's done a great job and needs to keep working on that. If I had a choice, I would pick Kavanaugh. I think he has more of an intimate relationship with Kirk. He kind of has a feel of coverages more so than Callahan, even though I'm sure he has all that down. But I would go Kavanaugh, and I think that's probably who it will end up being. But I could definitely see Wes Phillips.
Now, my question for you guys would be this. Knowing what we know about the offensive coordinator and Jay Gruden sort of relationship there, it's not clear who does what, and Jay Gruden obviously takes, I think, a major role in the game, strategizing and whatnot, during the actual game time. Are we obviously prioritizing defensive coordinator over offensive coordinator, and does that make sense? That'd be my question for you guys.
Yes, and yes, we should. I think this team can get away with Gruden doing all the offensive stuff for another year if he needs to, but
if he has to.
But it's not ideal.
It's not ideal, but it'll work.
We need a whole new defense, though. We don't need a new offense. They just need to figure out the red zone deficiencies, assuming Cousins comes back. Right. They need to figure out how to run the ball.
Red zone,
figure out how to run the ball
yeah.
more and red zone efficiency, and it's better. But the defense needs to be blown up, basically, in many respects, at least.
Yeah, I think I'm with you guys there. I think most people would be too. Sorry, go ahead, Adam. I didn't mean to jump on you there.
Oh, no, I definitely think, obviously, if you look at just the stats from this team, our defense was garbage and our offense was pretty good. So we obviously need to, take our time and get this defensive thing right. And like I said, Gruden is an offensive guy. His scheme's already in place, so you don't really need, an elite play caller to come in and do that. I think you can kind of spread the chores around to Callahan, Kavanaugh, Wes, and Gruden, and everything will be just fine on the offensive side of the ball.
Yep.
Beautiful. Well, we'll give you the last word on that. Thanks everyone for being around with us today. We will obviously keep you updated as these searches continue and we fill these positions. So stick around, and we will see y'all next week. Right, guys? You got anything else?
He's at DC Sports Bog.
He sent me a bunch of video job openings that the Post had. So,
but only Alex and not us. So, thanks, Dan.
Do you know how to edit video?
I'd learn, man. All right, well, we'll let you guys go. Get back to your weekends. Have a great one. We'll see you guys next week. Take care.